everyone. So today we're gonna try to do the assignment 5 for bootcamp. So let's first of all let's have a look on what it look like. Right. So let's have a look. Week 5 homework. Right. So basically we're gonna build something look like this. Right. So there is some color, right? And you can have something you type in the middle, and when you save, then it keep the event. It keep whatever you save in it, right? So that's what we try to do. So that's the whole point of this thing. So imagine there is a story, right? So as an employee, you have a very busy schedule. So you want to kind of have an event into your daily planner so that you can manage your time. Cool. So that's the user story. That's what it looked like, and that's what we're gonna build. Okay. So in this one, we need to have a moment.js library, right? So we need to use that. So first of all, let's build a simple page and then go and have a look what moment.js library does. Right. So let's save this as index.html, and we're gonna build the index, right? Right. So daily planner. Right, and we have a div here. So this is a daily planner. Simple. And let's run this. So, Review and Explorer. Okay, so this is our thing, right? So let's have a look at what is the moment.js is, right? So if you want to know what moment.js is, we're gonna search for moment.js, and ta-da! So that's the thing, very first thing, right? Actually, wait, I forgot to share you guys a screen. Cool. Yes, you should be able to see it now, right? Okay, okay, sorry about that. Alright, cool. So moment.js, right? So moment.js is a library to um, kind of control and manipulate date and times in JavaScript. Just to be sure, JavaScript does have a date time on its own. So if you search for JavaScript date, they have something like that, right? So they have a date in JavaScript. The reason with this is it's kind of stuck, right? So it doesn't have a lot of things and no tools, no like you can use it. It's just not that good. And moment.js is built on top of normal date, right? So it's still using date system, but it's improved. So that's why people kind of like to use it more. So today we're gonna learn how to use this thing, right? So we can have just a quick thing. We can have a look at how to do some format, how to get some relative time and stuff. So there's a bunch of things in here, and honestly, I haven't used all of it, but it's really cool and quite important library to use on the front end side, meaning whatever you show into the user, right? This is quite important. So let's learn how to put this in. And normally I'm just gonna search for moment.js CDN, and ta-da, that's my CDN. Okay, so I'm gonna look for, I'm not sure what I'm gonna look for, but I'm guessing that's the one. So that doesn't seem to have any locale, which I guess is the normal one, and it's use a minimum min here, meaning it's already been minified, so it's gonna be the the lightest one compared to a non-minified version. So just just have a look, right? So if you go to here, this is the non-minified version, right? So in a way you can still read and everything. And this is the minified version, which yeah, so see no new line, no tab whatsoever to make it look very short and light so that we can use it. Like it take less time to download on the client side. So we're gonna copy it and we're gonna put it in. Right, so again, all my JavaScript usually be at the very bottom of my body. It's just my preference, and I think it's kind of good thing to do also. So you can either put this here, or normally you can also put this here, like the way you do with CSS. But honestly, I would prefer to put it here. Okay, so we have it in, right? So let's run it. So importing that library, allowing us to have access to an object called moment or function called moment, and this moment gonna return us a moment object, or what I call a name object or moment object. And this moment object is our main thing, right? So we're gonna use this a lot. And yeah, so for now we're just gonna have this. I'm just gonna quickly look for how to format it nicely to get me what I have, to tell me what day it is now. So let's do display, right? So doc, then display. And I'm gonna do, so today is what, 10 of November 19, so I'm gonna do 10 slash 11 2019. I'm just gonna do something like this. So let's go. So it's do format with a string. So I'm gonna create my script, right? So script.js, right? And I'm gonna import it here. And in here, I'm just gonna do const today equal moment, and we're gonna console log today. We're gonna format it in, so we say day, right? So 10/11/2019, right? So 10 is a date, so we're gonna look for day a month, and you guys can do 1D, which is with no padding 0, or you can do 2D, which always have a padding 0. So we're gonna do this. So DD, and because it's a string, so we need to have a quote, and we have a slash, then we have month, right? And 11. Actually, let's do something like this. Not that, no, yeah, something like that. That'd be easier. Actually, that's gonna be nicer. Right, so month would be this, right? So Jan, Feb, so we're gonna have that. So no, that space, and then a year. So year, right? So year. Right. So let's see what we have. So if I refresh this, I have that. Cool. Alright, so that's how you use moment. A very short way of using moment. So let's have a look at this. Alright, whenever it go to the top. Okay, so workday planner, something. Alright, so we're gonna have a header. Right, so we have h1 to be daily planner. We're gonna have a bit of a paragraph, which I'm just gonna do lorem. Actually, this would be easy. So lorem something, and we're gonna have a date, right? So here I'm gonna put an ID here for current day, and because we already have this, so this already returning us the day. So I'm just gonna copy it, and I'm gonna use it here. I have to use jQuery. I have to include jQuery yet, but later. Alright, so current date, text, and that. Right, so if we run it now, it will fail. Reason because it doesn't know what that is, and usually it do that because I don't have jQuery, which I don't. So let's go and add jQuery. So jQuery CDN, always look for CDN. That's the fastest way. And I'm looking for the minimized version, and always trying to look for minimized version compared to the uncompressed one. Looking for that. Copy that and throw it here. Remember, your code will always be at the very end. It doesn't allow me to. Right, so your code always at the very end, so it can use whatever provided by the above script. So if I run it now, it should work. Cool, there we go. We have it. Now let's quickly um, put some styling in this. So text align center. Okay, I'm just gonna go with that. Alright, I'm gonna create a style.css and header text align to be center. Alright, okay. So now it should be in the center. Oh wait, that's correct. I haven't linked them. Okay, so let's link them, and it's gonna be in style. It should go in the middle. Okay, so this is more of a preference thing, but normally I would prefer to put these two files in something we call SS. Usually SS is everything from CSS, JavaScript to maybe font, images, photo, whatever it is. Normally I would put them in. And I think when you guys starting to do your project, which is I think 2 weeks from now or something, you would want to organize your project a bit more. And this is one way of doing it. So on your main level, there's only one index, right? Everything else is hidden inside asset. And in here, normally I do JS here and CSS also to make it more like cleaner. And again, this is more of a preference because none of this actually matter, right? All of them will be linked as usual. It's just to make your code look cleaner, that's all. So in here, I'm gonna change it back to assets and JS. Alright, so everything worked normal, right? We have that. Pum, 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 pum. I'm gonna change this into current date because leaving this alone doesn't really make any sense. So I'm gonna leave a current date here with a span or an ID. Right. So now it has something like that. Make more sense in a bit. Alright. So let's commit this as an initial. Right. So remember to try to commit as usual as you can. Alright. So let's do the second part. This part. Right. So again, there's a lot of way to do it. Let's do it a very simple one. Let's do one line. Right. One line first. There's this black line. We can do that later, but okay, let's stick with one line. Right. So how do we do it? I'm gonna create something called our container. I think actually that's a very lame name. Container that has some rhythm in it. Okay. So in here, let's do one line, right? So one line, I'm gonna have a div of our section, and in here, because we have three block, we have a time, we have a text input, and we have the save icon. So let's do that. So we're gonna have here is a div of hour, right? Then saying 9 a.m. We have memo container, I guess. And in here you have a text area for the user to input. Right, so we don't need a name. I think we might need an ID, but for now just leave it. And we have a save button, right? So save button right here. So save button. And for now just put the word save. We're gonna deal with the icon later on. So let's have a look here. Right, so that's what it looked like. But so let's do some styling on it because we want this to be on the same line. So I'm gonna do some display flex on here and flex direction to be row So now it's on that, and yeah, so that's okay. This is gonna be this. Haven't coding in a while. Okay, so that's gonna be that, making all of them centralize themselves. And if you can see here, this thing is not like 100. It's not full size of this. If you do a background color here, like blue or something, you will see that it's only this, and the height of the parent is like that big. So I don't want that. I want all this to have the same height. So in here, I'm gonna have to all of them to have height to be 100%. So now, actually, it doesn't work. High 100% doesn't work. High 100%. High 100%. Doesn't like it? Nope, apparently not. Alright, anyway, we can deal with that later. Not really important in this one though. Alright, and I'm gonna have a flex basis on this one to be 20%. 10. This one would be 40. And this one would be the rest. Alright, this look ugly as hell, as you can see. So we're gonna do some margin on both of the sides, so we don't do any margin top, but we're gonna do some margin on the side. But this is not a good place to do it. We're gonna do it in Blender container. So now we have that, which is better. We gonna have 10%. We don't have this. This will also be 10%. Spaces 10%, and this one would be 80%. And the input inside would need to have a full width. Of course, text area. Right, input, there you go. Even input doesn't work. No columns. No row. Oh, because input has border. Man, have to deal with CSS all over again. Yeah, but the thing is, what if I set width to be 100%? It's gonna add in the padding in the border, which causing that to be override, which is not looking that great though. Try away. Okay. Prefer not to. I think if I border none. Yeah, but it doesn't. Alright, you know what? Input outside. I'm gonna have width 100%. Yeah, okay, so with 100%, I don't need a border. That would work. Alright, so I'm gonna go with this instead then. Have a memo container. Anyway, you guys don't have to do exactly the same way. You can do whatever the way you want. It's just CSS, and please feel free to try out whatever way you feel comfortable with. Alright, so this is what our section. Okay, Planner container. Okay, we have an hour and a save button. To have flex basic of 10%, and we have the memo container to be with 100%. Right. So that should give us this. Our section. Did I do something wrong? Oh, that's a class, so this should be dot. Alright. For some reason, this doesn't do the whole size. Anyway, have a look at that later. Okay, so this is a very simple one without any styling for the user, but we have something similar, right? So we have something like this. We click save, then the user show up. So this one doesn't indicate that you can click. So save button. Let's add a cursor pointer into it so you can see that you can click, right? So that. Right. So we have this one, right? So an easy way would be you copy this and then you pasting them, right? And to how many times you want, right? So 20 times or something. And you're gonna have something like this, right? So 9 to 5. Right, but so that's the easiest one. That's the one you can do. But we don't really want to do that. Reason being that what happens if you say memo container, now I don't want this class name anymore. You have to change all of them, and it creates some tasks to do, and it takes some time to do it, and we prefer not to have it. And a lot of students actually creating this using JavaScript, and it's also good. So let's try to do that. And the way we do it is, let's copy this so that we have something for reference. Alright, so something tell me that that's not correct. So we're gonna create using JavaScript. Let's create them, right? So I'm gonna do this using jQuery. So cons our section equal, and this is a div. So I have a div here, and this thing you can actually add a second parameter which you can provide all the attribute that you wanted to have, including text and everything. In this case, I want class, right? So I can have class here of our section, right? And what happened inside this our section is these three, right? So I'm gonna append those three. Append, and append can do append an array. If you search for jQuery append, I do believe that append can run with an array, meaning that, sorry, not an array, you can append multiple things, right? So it can have multiple parameters, not just one, multiple things. So we're gonna in here, we're gonna create this one. So this is a div with a class of hour and a text of 9 a.m. Right, so this is the first thing. The second thing is an input type of text and class memo container. And that's the second one. The third one is a div with a class of save button and a text of save. Right, so that's it. That this thing is this. Cool. Now what you can do is you can append them here into Blender container, right? So we're gonna select that Blender container, append our section, and there you have a second one, right? So you can run a for loop on that, and then you can run that. The reason that I really like this way, even though it's cleaner, is because when you read this, you kind of have an idea of what it looked like in HTML, right? But when you look at this, if you are not used to it, you kind of not understand what's happening, like what's the format in HTML. So that's the reason why I don't really like this one. So what is the alternative? This is the another function provided by jQuery called clone. If you search for it, it's gonna have something like this. So clone, create a deep copy of a set of mesh elements. That's it. So what is clone? Let's try and see. Right, so I'm gonna remove this for now. And so this is my div, right? This is my original one. So I'm gonna have this as clone item. And this is what I'm gonna clone. So in here, I'm gonna select that clone item and I'm gonna do clone. And what it's actually do is blah, 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 not that. Create copy. Yeah, okay. Then what you can do is you can append them into this our section. Sorry, Blender container. Right, so this is create another clone, and then you append it to the Blender container. Clone. Oh, sorry, not clone. Append. Like that. Right. So what's happening is I'm having exactly the same thing. It's two of them. Right. Nope, not that. Nope, 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 nope. Alright. So you see I only have one here. I don't have any of this. I use a clone. Then I append it to Blender container. Then now I have two. Right? So this is my solution because first of all, I can keep this one, meaning I have a reference point of what my HTML will look like. And I use JavaScript to do the rest of them because it's going to be cleaner, so I don't have to keep duplicating this one. Alright, so let's start doing this one. So first of all, because it's a clone item, I don't really need this hour in here because it doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to remove it. And because it's a clone item, I don't want it to show. So I'm going to have it hidden. So blah 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 here. Alright, and I'm gonna move it outside the Blender container because it's not really a part of it anymore. I don't need that. Right, so if I refresh it, now it should be gone. Should it be gone? Why is it not gone? On item, display hidden, display none. Yep, sorry, my bad. Display none. Alright, so we refresh it, but nothing show up now. Why? Because if you look into here, this is your clone item, and when it clone, it also clone the ID. Right, so it cloned the ID of display none. So what we should do is, when we clone it, we should remove the ID. So what we can do here, I believe jQuery have a function called remove attribute. Yeah, here you go, remove attribute. So we're gonna remove an ID of it. Right, so remove attribute of ID. And if we try it again, now it's showing. Cool. So now our planner container only contains this, and we have a clone item outside of it without touching anything. Right. So what's the next part? We only do it once, right? We only have, sorry, wait here. We only have one of the row, but according to this, we want to have from 9 to 5, right? So it needs to run a loop because we need to know how many times should we clone, right? So if we calculate by hand like 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 9 times, right? But imagine that one day in the future you say, yeah, but you know, I'm gonna work extra time. I want to have my calendar going from 6 to 10, right? Then you can go back and like redo the math. But let's just not do that. Let's do a very smart way, right? So this is what I'm gonna do. So ignore this for now because we're gonna use this, but let's ignore that. I'm not gonna create a loop, but I want to know when do I start and when do I end. And because we're dealing with time, right? So from 9 to 5, I'm gonna use moment.js to help me with that time, right? So I have a variable called today. So I'm gonna create a from time. I'm gonna have today dot clone. I think clone or copy, clone, moment clone, clone, clone. Okay. Then I set the time, the hour. If you search for hour here, right? So set or get to set the time, and it's gonna set from 0 to 23, right? So I'm gonna set the time to, because we start at 9, right? So start at 9, right? And I'm gonna do the to time, and I'm gonna do a clone hour 5 p.m. What is it? So 5 p.m. is 17, right? So I'm gonna have here 17. Right. And you're gonna ask what is clone, right? So let's console log both of them, and we're gonna use a very easy format so that we see what's happening. Alright, so if we run it and if we look at here, we're gonna see that this is going from 10 to 9, and we see that we have some minute and second or of that now, which I think I should get rid of, but see the time, right? So this is 9 to 17, so we are correct. If we remove the clone, what it's gonna do is this. So if I remove the clone, right, then you refresh, now suddenly both of them become 17. Right? So what's the reason? The reason because today is an object, right? Today is a moment object. And when you modify in at one place, what it actually doing is it modify the today object and then it assign it to from time. So it's not creating a new moment object. It's actually still the same object with today. Right? So if in here, right here, if you console log today and you console log from time, you're gonna see that they are exactly the same. So let's see it. Let's do format. Right? See how they're exactly the same? Because it actually modify the moment of from today object and then assigning this to from time if you don't have a clone. Right? So the function clone actually creating a new moment object from the today object. So you can either do this or you can do something similar, which is moment. Right? Both of this is working fine. The reason I prefer this is because sometimes you will work with some of the date that you care to save back, the date or the month or the year. So clone still give you that relation, right? If you do moment again, it's gonna be today, which normally it totally depends on what you want to do. But normally I would prefer to use clone if I can. No preference whatsoever. Alright, so we do know now what clone does, so I'm gonna have that here. Alright, so we have a from time, we have a to time, right? And let's look at another thing called start off. And because I told you before, we have some minute here and second here that I don't really like. So we're gonna use a function called start off. So start time is setting start time when you pass in a string. It will set it to the beginning of whatever. So in our case, I want to be the start day. Sorry, not start day, start hour, because I want to remove the minute and second and millisecond. Right, so I'm going to do start off day. Sorry, not day. Why do I keep say day? What I mean is hour. And nothing show up because I haven't logged. Format, of course. Alright, so see, now it's 00, which is fine. Cool, but instead of doing that, let's do it on today. Because if we do it there, then again, because I cloned this, so whatever today is, it should not have any minute and second, so I don't have to do it here. Right, so we have a time, right? So now what we need to do is looping through them. So what do we do a loop? A simple one, a for loop, right? So we have a for loop. And we're gonna have current time here to be equal to from time clone. Right, in the for loop, if you run a for loop through a moment object, be sure to always clone the from and the time, from and the to check, because if you don't, then it will be messing around with your loop. Right, so current time clone, right, and our condition, instead of less than this, we're gonna say if current time. There's a function for compare, and if you look at here, there's a query, and I'm gonna say is before or same, because I also want it to run when it's on 15, so is same or before. So you can do moment object dot is same or before another moment object. So I'm going to use that is same or before our to time, and every end of the loop I will add an hour to it, right? Because we want to run 9, then 10, then 11, then 12. So I'm gonna do current time dot, and if you want to add an hour, you're gonna go and look at manipulate, and there's an add function right here to add a number and a string, and this is what I'm looking for. So you're looking here, it's gonna say add 7 days or add 7D, and we're looking for hours, so add 1 hour, so 1h. So add 1h. Right, so this is our loop. So let's console log and see what is actually running. Right, so console log current time format. Right, so let's remove this. Actually, let's keep it there. Say from time, and here we have to time. Right, so we know the start and the end point of our loop. Refresh. I see 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's it. That's our loop. Right, so this is how many times that we need to run, and that's how many times that we need to clone. So let's clone that. So this is how we clone, right? But before we complete the clone, we want to add new things into it. So we're gonna have here our section. Did I call it our section? Yeah, 1 hour section equal to, so we are clone this. Right, so this is cloning, the clone item, and in here we're gonna modify the hour section, the clone hour section. Right. So the very first bit that we need to do is remove the ID, right? Then what we need to do is we need to add data into here, right? So we're gonna add what hour this is. So hour section, I'm going to use a function called find, and find is a function that I normally use a lot in jQuery. So find is it gonna, if you give it an element and you give it what selector, it's gonna go deep into your element and try to search for this, right? So it's kind of better than if you have to go to children, then look for whatever children you want, index and everything. So if I just don't really care, I'm just gonna use find. So I'm gonna find the hour, and I'm gonna put some text into it. So what should I put in here? Now I have my current time, right? Current time is that, right? So now let's format it into 9 a.m., 10 a.m. something, right? So we're gonna have current time here, format, and if we go here and we look for format, actually display format. So our time, and because I look at here, it doesn't have a padding 0. So I'm looking for hour with no padding. So H is 1 hour without padding. So H. And we have AM PM like that. And we're gonna use A because I think it's using capital. Okay. Right. So this is gonna give us the hour. But before we go, I want to use something called a data attribute, which you guys already learned, to better identify a row to be whatever hour. So instead of having to look at the first row, like with the user, when they look at the website, they're gonna look at the first column to know what hour there is. But because we as a developer, we will try to avoid using this kind of thing. We're gonna use the attribute of an element to determine better, like to get a better knowledge of what that element is about. So that's what I'm trying to do. So instead of reading the first column, I'm gonna use a data attribute, right? So my hour section is the whole row, right? That's the whole row, and I'm gonna use section. I'm gonna use a function called data. That's a jQuery function to deal with data attribute. So you can put an element and a key, not this one, that one. So you can put a data, a key, and a value, and it's basically the same way with how you use attribute, but instead you have to use, like, there's two ways of you doing this. So either you use our section attribute, data, hour, and you have string 10. You can do data, hour here, and 10. And I prefer to use this way more because it giving me an idea that this is a data and not such a normal attribute. Normally I use this for, like, saying class, not class, maybe ID and some other thing like disable or enable something, not something like this. Right, so I don't prefer that. Alright, so now I want to know what hour there is, right? And what's the better thing to do than look into current time. Alright, so get and set, because we want to know what hour there is. So hour, and there's a function called moment.hour. So we're gonna do current time dot hour. Right, so we have that, we have the hour, we have everything in. Now let's run. There we go. I think I'm doing something wrong. It should be 5 p.m. Okay, so display time need to be that normal H. Right, so normal H. Alright, there you go. And if we look at the row, It doesn't show on here, but if you use jQuery and you do data hour, it will show you 9. Or you can just use data. It will give you everything. And in this case 9. And if you go on this one, should give you 10. So that's how we know that we got our data in it, right? So that's good. Alright, so that's the whole cloning thing. Actually, I'm a bit unlike this thing anyway. It just look ugly. Alright, let's go back to starting this, because why not? Alright, so this one row last center. Let's see if I can dance. Why can't I do a hide on this one? Is that the full height? Is that the other one just higher because it has some padding around it? Interesting. Uh, yeah. Alright, so height does work. The only reason why it doesn't work is because the other one previously doesn't work, because this one has some margin and border. Okay. Okay. So what I'm doing is correct. Okay, so high with 40, I'm gonna have everything in it to have high of 1%. This one needs to remove it border and margin. Border. Okay, something like that. Right, let's go with something like that. So this is our section. The what? Sorry. Yeah, I know, but why? Why though? Why do you want to use that? Yeah, again, why though? Why don't you just let your imaginary go wild? You know the fun part in coding websites is doing this. Reason being that you can just be lazy and no one actually know. I know it's a bit it's very unprofessional, but this is the fun part. Like that's the only part where you can do imagination. Everything else, if you want to do it, then you have to do it correctly. But this thing you can just do whatever you want, unless your boss said that he doesn't like it. Uh, Align item. Alright, so we have something like that. I'm gonna create some margin around this. Want to be 2 pixel. 3 pixel. Right. And maybe a border, solid and black. Okay, you will need some margin. This thing is getting too big. Sorry, not good. To be. The reason because it has some padding around itself. So I'm gonna say height to be 1% minus 2 pixel. There we go. That's the perfect one. I'm gonna go for. Yep. And for everyone who's looking at this on YouTube, this is just me trying to do the best I can on my website. Please don't judge. Alright, so let's look a bit better. Alright, so let's go to the main part. Actually, before we go to the main part, let's just commit it first. So place style, and this is do clone. Alright, so now we're gonna do a click on this. So there's multiple ways to do it, but because our thing said that our homework said that we have to save this into local storage somewhere in here. Does it say it? Yes, here. So clicking it will save into local storage, allow text to persist whenever the application is refreshed. Right, so we need to save in local storage, right? So before we save in local storage, we have to think about what we are saving and how we want to save it. What I mean is this. So when you save, what do you save? Saying if I click on this button, will I only save my 2 p.m. or will I save everything? Right? And if I save everything, then it's okay. I'm just save everything. If I save one line, do I save it as a separate key, saying I have a key called 2 p.m. somehow, then I save it? Or will I save it in a big object, saying have a 2 as a key? Or will I save it in an array? Something like that. So there's a lot of things to think about. And again, either way would work. If you make it work at the end, it works, right? And there's no stupid way. There's just an efficient way. And if you end up going with a very simple and straightforward way and it works, sure, go for it. And in here, I've been thinking for a while, but the only good way that I can think of is I'm gonna save it uh, as an object. So I'm gonna save it as an object with a key being the hour, so 9, 10, 11, 12, and in each of here I will have a string, right? It's just a simple string like this. And I was thinking that if you haven't put anything into it, I'm just gonna remove it. Actually, so it's either have something in here or have nothing or being it's not exist, right? So there's 3 different ways for it to be there, be in my object. And when I click save, I'm thinking of just saving that one line, because saying if you are typing something here and then suddenly you go down here, but you just want to save this one because this one's kind of wrong-ish. So saving this only save this one line. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right, so let's go and try to save one line. Right, so first of all, because we said that whenever I click here, then it's safe. So we have to target that. And please remember that we are cloning this. So by default, this save button doesn't exist. But if you select those save button after here, this save button does exist already because we already append them here. So if I do a quick console log and I try to select all of this save button, you shall see that they already exist. If I refresh, all the button exists, even though that at the beginning we don't have it in our HTML. But because JavaScript runs from top to bottom, so by the time it gets here or end of the loop, all of our save button already exists. So we can still do save button, click. That's it, fine. Right, but let's do it in a event delegation way, meaning we might not be sure that when our save button will be created. Right, so the way we do it is we select a parent. Okay, so in this case, Blender container is the parent. So we select the parent, and we're going to use the function on. And if you go to jQuery and you search for on, you're gonna see there's an on, event, selector, and handler. I'm just gonna care for that. Right, so on event, what event you want to do. On selector, so it's gonna filter all the descendant of the selected element to trigger event, that trigger the event. Right, so that's how we do delegation in jQuery. So we say on, click, off, save button, then we have a function here, console log, button being clicked. Right, so let's test this one. So if I click on here, nothing happened. Right, nothing happened regardless of whatever I click on here. Yeah, cool. But if I click on here, then now it's being clicked. Right, so again, the parent on what event it is. You filter out. So in this case, you filter out on only save button, and you set the button is being clicked. So it behaves something like this. Right. So now let's do one more thing, right? We want to say when I click this, I want to know what block do I have, what slot do I have. So how do you do that? If you look at the save button, right, then we know that we already have the hour in here, in the hour section, right? And we access it by using data, hour, right? So we have it in here already. So now we have this button. So if I console log this here will belong to the button. Right, so if I click here, this here is the button. So let's go into there. I'm going to do this, click that, and now I can play with this. Right, so this is the button. Now let's transform that into jQuery. And because we know that if we go one level up, so we're going to go to the parent, we're going to have the hour section. And in here, we're going to use data and hour. So we have the time. So exactly how you do it in JavaScript, you have the element, you go up a level, you go to the parent, right? Then in the parent, because we already have the data hour set, we're gonna use data hour, and we're gonna get the hour out. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna say hour equal to this parent data hour, and let's just console log this one out. Right. So if I click this, it should show me 9. Let's remove that. It should show me 9, right? So click that, it should show me 13 because I click 1, I think. If I click this, it should show me 15. Yep, there you go. So now we know the time, right? So now let's look at this. Let's look at whatever the user has input in their input, because we need the time and also the user input, right? So how to get it? Let's do exactly the same way. So if we click on this, then if we do this dot parent, now we have our section, which is this, right? Then we need to select the input, and the function that I said before that I normally use is find. So I can use find, wrong one, memo container, and I have that input, and I can use, because it's an input and not a normal tag, so I'm going to use dot val, right? And let's try. So saying I put here, and I actually here I say hello world. Click save. I got in there. I do exactly this, and that's why I get hello world. Cool. So we're gonna do this, right? So cons user input equal this, right? But then this is a small thing, but then I see that I do this and parent repetitively twice, right? So what you can do is you can say in here cons parent equal this dot parent, and you can replace this with that and this with that, right? So that's the short way. And again, it is not gonna affect much. The performance not gonna suffer a lot, but this is kind of a small thing that you can improve over time, which will add up to a very faster performance. Like when you're trying to do a very big project, like I mean, have to be huge for this to actually mean something. Okay, but one thing that I normally do is that this parent here is not an element. It's actually a jQuery element, right? Because this is using jQuery. So normally what I did is I prefix this with a dollar sign, right? And the reason why I do this is because when I look at this, I know that this is a jQuery element. So I can use all the jQuery element on top of it. And a lot of time you're gonna run into problem where you find yourself having problem like I don't know, oh, what function are we using? Parent, something like this. It's gonna say like parent out of function, right? And this is normally okay because this is just saying that you trying to use jQuery on a normal thing, but it over time it kind of annoyed me a bit. So I look online, and a lot of people said that a very good naming convention is that for any jQuery thing, you put a dollar sign in front of it so that it distinguishes between your normal JavaScript element and your jQuery one. So that's what I'm gonna do here. Right. So I'm gonna now having my planner object, right? And this is my planner object. It's just simple as that. And with the hour and the user input, I can now have planner add hour equal user input. Right, and let's have a look at what my planner is. Console.log planner. If I refresh it, I say here, move that. This is my planner now. If I have that, save, that's my planner. If I remove it, save, that's my planner. Right, so now I need to save this. So I'm gonna move this on top. Right, alright, so cons local storage key equal planner. Right, and in here I can say local storage set item local storage key, and because planner is an object, so I need to do JSON stringify JSON planner. Right, cool. So that's it. Let's refresh and see how that works. So I put in here something, I save, I look into an application, local storage, file, then I see my planner right there. Right, let's ignore this one. If I have something here, save, I got that. If I have here, save, I got that. Cool, very cool. Now we save it, right? But then how do we load it? How do we load it into here? So let's do a quick one. So when do we load it? We load it only once, right? Before we whenever we refresh the page, that's when we load. But we have to do it after we have our whole planner. After that, not before, after, right? So we have to do it after this for loop. So we have to do it here, right? So now let's get the planner out. So cons local storage planner equal this should be let. So JSON, sorry, not JSON, local storage get item local storage key. So we're gonna get it out, and we have to check for the case when we don't have it. So if you don't have the item, it's gonna come up as no. So that's how you need to check it. So I'm gonna check if my local storage planner is not no. Then I'm gonna replace my planner with whatever I have in the local storage. Parse to local storage, right? So I have to parse because when I save in local storage, I do stringify. So I have to do parse again here. Right. So now I can console log my planner and see how that works. If I refresh, I'm gonna have my planner here, right here. Cool. Now, how do we? Hey, Andrew. Uh, Andrew, can you mute yourself a bit? I would say that's a yes. Unless you guys cannot hear me from the very start, which is kind of very bad. But alright, let's keep going. Alright, so we have this, right? So we learn about loop, right? And we know that we have to loop through this. But how do we loop through this? We have some key, some value here. But then how can we loop? So what we can do is Google loop through object. And there's a bunch of them, right? And I would go for this. But the problem with only this is that the problem with this is you not only need to know what's here, you also need to know the key of it. So let's rephrase our thing. So JavaScript loop through object with keys and value. Alright, so this is the one I'm looking for. So it's called objects.entries. Right, and objects.entries basically return you a key and then a key and value of an object. So this is the object that I have, and let me explain to you what this is. But basically, if you run this, it's gonna give you a, which is the key, and some string, which is the value. So that's the key, that's the value. Right. So we're gonna use object.entries. So let's try what object.entry actually does, right? So this is our planner. If we use object.entry planner, we're gonna return an array. And in each of the array, we have key as the first element and value as the second element, right? So that's why it said that's what I mean when it said key value pair in an array. Right, so if we do it, we can do it in a very simple way because this is just an array, right? So we can loop through an array. So let's loop through an array. So for and in here, because we need to parse this into this. So um, object entries. Normally I don't really do this. Planner equal object entries planner And because this is an array, you can do here is array, and you have an index, and you can have an array here, right? So we know that our hour is the first value, right? So hour is element at 0 and value is element at 1. And because I know that this hour I want it to be a number, so I'm gonna make it into a number. Okay, so now let's console log them and see are we doing it correctly. So hour value. So that's our hour, that's our value. I really need to update my game. This is not a very good thing to put in. Alright, so 11 I have a coffee. I don't actually drink coffee, so bubble tea. At 12 I have my lunch break. At 1 I stop playing games. Something like that. Alright, save, save, save. So now I have my 10 o'clock would be working. And my 2 would be still working. Yeah. Alright, save that, save that. Alright, so now it's look a bit better. Fresh, and that's my planner through in the loop, right? So now we have our hour and we have our value. Event. Let's call event because that's what I'm gonna do. Right. So now we have an hour. So we need to look for whatever element that have this hour. Right. So we can. What we can do is this is work. Hour equal 10. Give me a sec. Let's see if this works. No, because this doesn't have that one. Alright, so what you can do is, because this is small, you can look through them and find which one have the correct time. Right, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna select all of my hour section. Right, so hour section, and I'm gonna look through them. Sorry again. Can you not do it what in here? Um, yes, you correct, but oh yeah. Actually, yes. You got a point. Yes, correct. Alright, so change the plan. I'm gonna move this up here. Alright, so if I have my plan, if I have my local storage plan, then I'm gonna change it here. Else, I'm gonna have my planner to be empty. Right? So you're correct. I should not do this. I don't need this. Alright. So when you clone, you have the hour in here. So let's move this out. And we have a constant here to say what's the current hour. And here we have the hour, right? So in addition to this, we can say if, actually no, you don't really need to do if. We're gonna find the input, which is memo container, and we're gonna add again, because this is an input, right? It's not a tag, so it's an input, so we're gonna do val, and we're gonna give a planner at hour, right? And there will be case when planner dot at hour is actually being undefined, but it's also fine. So if you do planner here, you have that. But if planner 9 is going to be undefined, but text undefined will work. If you don't want that, we can have an if right here, saying if planner hour, is not undefined before you do it, and it's also gonna work fine. Cool, nice in here. And if we refresh this, this should populate it, because when we cloning it, we adding all the information, including if we do have a planner for that hour, we gonna add in, we gonna change the memo container with the value of it. So we refresh it, and there it is. Cool. So let's create another one to clear it. I don't think they have it. Oh, there's some time block to color code it, but let's just quickly create a button to clear the timer. Sorry, not the timer, the planner. Right. So this button will do only one thing, to clear the whole planner. So let's add an event for it. So this button, I'll click. We will clear the planner. And local storage have a function called clear item. So there's a set item, there's a get item, there's also clear item. Remove item, sorry, remove item, not clear, remove item, which allow you to get to put in one key and it will remove it. So in here I have this key, it totally be removed. So the reason why I use this and not clear is because saying your application is big and then other part of the system you require the local storage to work. Using clear, we just clear everything, which might cause the other part to break, which you don't really like that. So trying to minimize what change. Right, so local storage here, and we're gonna refresh a page. And honestly, I don't know how to do it, so let's Google it. So JavaScript page refresh. Right, so that's a location reload event. So we can do location.reload, which will refresh a page. Right, so if I do this, I have a clear planner. Oh, sorry, I already clear. So coffee, bread, tea, bubble, save all of it. Right, if I refresh now, it's here. If I clear the planner, then it clear out the application and then it refresh the page. So I have an empty one. Right, so let's do the last bit when you actually add the color. Right, so color. How do we do color? Let's choose what color do we want first. Right, so we do color by doing background color, right? So for the path, it will be light gray. And the reason why it doesn't work, this one, is because this one has a background color of white, I believe. So what you can do is, there's a background color of transparent, which I think will work in this case. There you go. So transparent basically doesn't have any background, so whatever on the back of it will show up. So we have that. So path will be light gray. Current would be, what do I want current? Current would be blue, light blue, navy blue. There's no navy blue. Okay, I can think of something. It doesn't have any color here. That. Okay, dark blue. And for the future, because I do believe that my future is bright, so I'm gonna go with something green. Not color. Maybe not this. That. Alright, light green. So we have our color. So with the memo container, let's add a styling to it. Actually here, let's complete saving and retrieving. Right, so memo container, we're gonna have a background color here to be transparent, so it remove whatever the background color is having. We're gonna have an hour section, and if it has a class of pass, it's gonna have a background color of light gray. See, this thing has color. It's like a Chrome needs to game up, man. Okay, so current would have a background color. There's no blue, darker blue, I think. And future would have a background color of light green. Yeah, alright, so we have that. Now, how do I do it? Right, so we have a today, right? So today is whatever now is. I should call this now instead of today. Right, so now let's get the current hour to be, so we learned here that we can use hour, so we're gonna use that. So now dot hour. Right, so in here what we can do is I'm gonna add a comment here to append it into banner content. Alright, so in here we can say if my hour is less than my current hour, then this is the pass. So my hour section will add class pass. If hour equal to current hour, so this is the current hour section, add class to be in present, should be present not current, present. And if hour is greater than current hour, so this is the future hour section, class to be future. Right, so if we save it and then we test it, so this is all the pass, right? Then because now is late, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, so you cannot test that. One way that you can improve this is to make it 24 hour, which is a very good thing, right? So instead of you guys have to recalculate, you just go here and say I want from 0 to 23, and voila, it goes from 0 to 23, and we see that it's actually doing correctly. But think about what happens if you don't want that, you want this, right? And then how can you check it, right? So I do believe that moment has a function called mock fake test. Okay, moment set current time. I used this a while ago. Okay, not this. For testing. Okay, so there's a mock. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Oh, moment cannot do it. I thought they can. I don't believe so. Get and set is to do whatever moment you have. What I'm trying to look at is how to fake that you actually have a moment, a current time from somewhere else. I do remember that moment does have it. I just don't quite remember where. This is fucking utility normalize unit invalid. Okay, not sure. But what we can do is, do I have any Creating clone humanize. Nope. Okay. So instead of we can say moment, we can put in whatever our now is. Right. So today is 2019, 11:10, and we're gonna say now is saying 10 a.m. Right. So 10:00, and when we test this, this should give us something like that. Right. So this is one way for us to test. Wait, they don't have it? Huh. Interesting. I do remember that they have it, but maybe they remove it or something. But yeah, so that's one way that you can mark the time. Instead of using moment to get the time, you can put in whatever time you want it to be. So you can test exactly what's happening. So if I say now it's 8 o'clock, then all this should be all light green. Right? Or you said this is like 28 p.m. and it should be all pass. Right, so I think that's everything, unless I'm missing anything. Standard, that done, that done, that done. Yes, sure. So again, that's everything that I have to showcase. Anything that you guys want to ask? So this is adding color to the block. Okay, I will post the video as well as the whole repo, so that you guys can have something to look at. But yeah, so that's it for now for me. Anything that you guys want to ask relating to this assignment at all? Yes, no, no. Okay, cool. Alright, so as usual, if you do have any question, either PM me or just post on the channel and I will try to explain them. And sure, so that's it for now. Okay, so this is bye bye for you too.